think it's a very unique moment also. And इसलिए I'm a little hesitant, at least immediately, to jump the gun. Because my instinct says कि ये Pakistani hit job है, ठीक है? Like there is... I don't know how people in the valley who have whatever grievances can be so trained, so organized. It would always look like there's a history of Pakistan interference. But you know what I'm beginning to wonder? There was a specific tweet. एक वो tweet pull करना, Arvind करके एक account ने tweet किया था. Something about how this could be a trap. And I'll tell you why I think this. I don't know if this came up in our last conversation. I've been saying this for a while. Ki now that Ukraine-Russia is tense and Israel-Palestine is tense, there are only two more vertices of the conflict world. One is in Taiwan, that America will be very hesitant to touch, or China will be very hesitant to touch, because that will blow up. And the third is Kashmir. And it's a very good war economy, sort of four vertices that play. Now, Pakistan's desperate. We've established that. So at some point, Pakistan will step in and try to establish कि नहीं अभी भी हम हैं, अभी हम बूढ़े नहीं हुए, अभी हम लड़ने को ready हैं. And it seems like this is a kind of bait where they want us to retaliate, to drag us away from, well, our economic progress, the possibility of general prosperity in the country, and get into a war. It seems like with Vance being here in India at this very like, how is this all conspiring in that way?
So just to answer you're right, absolutely. They want this is something that has obviously been planned, because an overreaction from India or even a retaliation from India can also have escalation from Pakistan. Because when a desperate person or animal is cornered, then it fights back with whatever it has. I mean, that's the last desperate attempt to sort of survive. So the trick will lie for India in not rushing into a punitive action against Pakistan as they expect. The trick will be to do multiple and multiplying effects of a coercive action, which can be both kinetic, that is, which is firepower, and also non-kinetic in terms of diplomacy, in terms of economy, in terms of switching off, or at least trying to control the water through the Indus Water Treaty. I won't say you can scrap it, because there is a danger there again. I'm being very pragmatic about it, that we are upper riparian for Pakistan at the moment. I mean, because of geography, that we control the water going into Pakistan. But similarly, China controls the water or the glacial melting that happens in Tibet, and for all the river systems that come into India. So therefore, India cannot take that risk, should not take that risk.
They cannot outright just block that water.
It cannot. And it cannot scrap the treaty. Because right now the treaty is being seen as unfair, and rightly so, because 80% of the Indus Water Treaty, under the Indus Water Treaty, 80% of the water goes to Pakistan, because it's a water-starved country. India only gets 20%. It's unfair, but it was done at that point in time, and through all the tensions over the decades, it has never been touched, the Indus Water Treaty. But India is now looking at various options of tweaking the Indus Water Treaty. So that's one option. You withdraw or close down all the your diplomatic missions in Pakistan, the consulates and the embassy or the High Commission. You withdraw them. You expel remaining Pakistani diplomats in India, who many of them are spies and many of them are covert action people who are stationed.
Do we know of that?
We know of that.
But why do we let them stay?
No, but because they come under diplomatic cover or diplomatic immunity, as it is called. They're posted here. We also do it. I mean, it's not that India doesn't have their IB or their RNW people in embassies abroad or diplomatic missions abroad. But you can just do that. I mean, and completely shut down issuance of visa to Pakistanis, shut down Kartarpur corridor. Many of these things can be done. Escalate it, calibrate the escalation, instead of going straight away for a kinetic action or a missile strike or a air force strike or a land border, cross-border raid over a Pakistani terrorist hideout or a thing. But you have to punish the Pakistani military. Now, how do you punish the Pakistani military? Not just by carrying out an attack on a Pakistani military camp, but also trying to identify the businesses that Pakistani army runs in various garb. It controls supplies, it controls tourism, it controls hotels, it controls even supply of food in many cases. So go after those entities. in many ways. Get people to sanction them, people to, your allies and friends to sanction them. It's a long-term thing. So there are many ways to punish Pakistan, and that can be done, should be done. India has to be a mature nation. It cannot go straight away rush into a kinetic action, like I said. But at some point, there will be pressure from people, from the Aam Janta, for taking revenge. But revenge, as Mario Puzo has famously said, is the dish best served cold. It's that simple. I mean, it's true,
right,
in all senses. So that is what something that India should concentrate on at the moment.
You know what I think of that? This whole diplomatic, or for that matter, squeezing them in the back channels, their economic channels, is a very pre-2014 India. And I worry that the messaging it communicates to its citizens. See, it's not really about placating warmongering, bloodthirsty Indians. That's not what this is about. There has to be a clear signal to Indian citizens that we are safe. That we are safe from whatever bad actors are operating in West Bengal, whatever bad actors can operate in the valley, whatever. As an Indian citizen, the fundamental right to safety, that needs to be communicated in more than just these diplomatic and economic ways.
No, so what I said these are the first few steps you should take.
Right.
Calibrate the escalation. There is something in war theory, there is something called escalatory ladder. So you climb each step with deliberation and keep going up. Increase the pressure, increase the intensity, and hit when they least expect. You can always carry out a airstrike, but it has to be demonstrative, where you know that yes, Pakistan has been hurt, where generals have been hurt, or the Pakistani army has been hurt. Therefore, I said right at the beginning that this is a Pakistani army terror attack, or sponsored or initiated or supported Pakistani army terror attack. So you have to punish the perpetrators, the original perpetrators of all this. Those who have planned it, those who have supported it, those who have financed it, not the foot soldiers who came and carried it out. They, of course.
Right. But they're pawns.
They're pawns.
Yeah, that doesn't
the conspirators,
harm them.
The conspirators. So therefore, one must do that.
Yeah, the foot soldiers are already there to die.
Yeah.
वो उस mindset से क्या है ना,
exactly.
हमें तो मार दो, तो that is no loss
So I am not for a moment suggesting we should not take any kinetic action. I am saying it has to be calibrated. It cannot be a rush of the blood kind of a thing that you should go.
Diplomatic condemnation, road construction, unarmed skirmish, armed skirmish, troop. Is this it?
Yeah, something like that. I mean,
okay.
See, there are different formula and different permutations and combinations you can do it. So, like they always say, in a war, you start off with small operations, then go to sort of consolidate, go forward, consolidate, and then launch an attack. So that's what I call escalatory.
I follow what you're trying to say. Yeah. What you're saying is that there has to be a proportionate response.
Yes.
And I think it's a fairly tricky situation. I do agree that the long-term strategy to eliminating any kind of militancy or non-state terrorist activities is squeezing them economically. Money is where it hurts the most.
Absolutely.
And very often, whether we see it or not, these things are carried out at the behest of personal monetary gains for specific people hiding behind ranks of these people, right? Whether that be the Naxalites, there is some Naxalite leader profiting from it. And whether that be this Kashmiri militants, there is some army general in Pakistan profiting from it, whether that be in power or in money. So I do understand that is the case. One aspect is I think that the Indian citizens need to be communicated that we are safe, and so some kinetic action of that nature has to. There's a pragmatic concern here, which is that I think Modi government over the last 11 years at this point is very unlike their predecessors.
Yes.
I think their dispensation is to have kinetic action. They've proven it twice in the past. And so at this point, I think within the next 48 hours, if I was a betting man, I'd gamble there. I'd say in the next 48 hours, something like this might happen. In fact, well, I shouldn't say something trivial, but I do think that might happen. And I think the trick there is to escalate in a way where they know they can be hurt more, but they don't want to come back, because we do not want this loop to reach its nuclear conclusion. And I think Pakistan is very guarded right now. They've already tweeted. So many of their generals are like, oh boss, matana, hum taiyar khade, hum taiyar khade.
Exactly.
So we're in a very tricky situation that way. What do you think? Do you think the odds of something happening in the next 48 to 72 hours?
I won't bet on it, although you said you are a betting man. I won't bet on it for the next 72 hours. But certainly something unexpected, something that has not been done in the past will be done. That I'm sure about. But what I cannot, because see, every military, every government have pre-decided options. If this happens, we will have this. If this happens, if not this, then what is the third option? That they're always decided.
Who's deciding this?
This is the highest decision makers. So it will be the military, the intelligence agencies, and the political leadership. Yeah, NSA. And the CCS finally gives the authorization, that the Cabinet Committee on Security, which comprises the Prime Minister, then the Home Minister, Defense, External Affairs, and Finance.
Okay.
Because ultimately it comes down to money.
Right.
So everyone's there, and there's of course the NSA, the CDS, there are 3 chiefs, intelligence chiefs. They all will get, today there is a meeting in the evening, and we are speaking on Wednesday.
Right.
Wednesday evening there's supposed to be a meeting. Already the Raksha Mantri or the Defense Minister has held 2.5 hours long strategy session or talks with his military leadership, that is the CDS, the Chief of Defense Staff, and 3 Chiefs of Staff for Army, Navy, Air Force. They've all conferred. They've got their, I'm sure, options with them, which will be put on the table at the CCS, which is the Cabinet Committee on Security. It has to take into account multiple factors. And you have to also do it in a way that surprises Pakistan, because they have seen cross-border or land raid in Uri. They've taken a hit in the Balakot airstrike. So what are you left with?
Yeah.
So
how are you surprising them? Right.
Yeah, how are you surprising them? That is going to be the key. So I'm saying it will happen, but it will be something completely unexpected.
I think it's also a losing situation, sir, because आप देखो the rules of the game क्या है, ठीक है? आप टेबल के अक्रॉस ही मेरे को थप्पड़ मार रहे हो. मेरे को सोचना है मैं टेबल के यहाँ से कैसे निकालूं, और मैं आई एम गोइंग टू रन आउट ऑफ ऑप्शंस इवेंचुअली. द प्रॉब्लम विद दिस इन्वेडर इन्वेडी सॉर्ट ऑफ इक्वेशन इज दैट इट्स नेवर अ लेवल प्लेइंग फील्ड फ्रॉम द गेट गो. क्योंकि इन्वेडर को तो मिनिमम पॉसिबल काम करना है, उसको सबसे लीस्ट एफर्टफुल मोस्ट एफिशिएंट थप्पड़ ही तो मार के भागना है. और अब मेरा क्या है, मैंने मुक्का मार दिया तो ये लात ना मार दे तो मैं घर ना चला. सो it gets us into this situation where India is on the defensive with all of this.
Not really, no. No, I don't agree to that. India is not on the defensive. India is being a mature nation. It will, like I said, it will have a massive blow against Pakistan. There's no doubt about it. Because like you said, this is in the DNA of this government and in this Prime Minister's approach to national security. So it cannot not happen. The question is that you and me, or at least me, I cannot decide
what should
happen. Okay. Right. Because I've seen in multiple places. So this is, in a way, this is India's Gaza moment.
I would be very hard pressed to say that, sir. I do not. I'll tell you why, but please finish. Yes.
Why am I saying this? Because now this has crossed the red line. Civilians in the past 20 years have not been killed. Gaza, I'm not saying in a way of Israel-Palestine context. I'm talking in terms of how civilians have been killed here. Earlier, for last 2 years in Jammu and Kashmir, they have been targeting security forces, which in a way is acceptable, that this is a fight that you're fighting and security forces are there to fight.
It's much more proximate to the thesis of war.
Exactly.
Yes, right.
But not civilians. Yes. Now, this has crossed all red lines that India has, and Pakistan has shown its hand. Now, beyond this, there's nothing. They cannot do anything worse than this. So, India has to do something which has never happened. And therefore, what Israel also felt on 7th October 2023, that civilians were targeted, they were taken hostage, and therefore they actually carried out a disproportionate retaliatory attack on the Palestine and the Hamas especially, not the Palestine really, but the Hamas.
Right.
So here, there is a difference, that this is now Pakistani army backed. It's a nation's army. Hamas is a terrorist organization. So there is a difference. So then you cannot equate in that sense. Yes, you cannot equate. I'm talking about the mindset.
No, I do. I understand. I'm very trippy about it for this particular reason, because I've seen when the international community starts commenting on things they have nothing to do with and how they butcher the issue. I think Israel and Palestine, especially around Gaza, is not just a kinetic war, it's a propaganda and information war.
It is.
And I think both parties are very invested in what people believe around the world.
Correct.
And the one thing I've had, and this is something I've had since 2018-19 because I realized the possibility of it, is I do not want no international commentary on Kashmir. You don't get the issue, don't comment on it. And so every time somebody tries that Palestine and Pakistani, I'm like, walk away.
Yeah.
Because the minute these Americans sitting in their comfortable suburban homes start commenting on this issue, the issue's gone to the dogs.
Sure.
Right?
They, any case, see, I'll tell you, India loses this war in Kashmir because it is, for years, for decades, Pakistan has projected it as a local freedom movement,
Resistance,
of the
right.
resistance movement of the Pakistanis. But that is gone. That is for the past 10 years, nobody cares about what Pakistan thinks. Nobody cares about what Pakistan is crying hoarse on 27th October, on any of those days that they observe. But the fact is that India has liberated Jammu and Kashmir, has done what Pakistan never dreamt India will do, and therefore they're smarting under that insult, smarting under that humiliation. And therefore they have done this. And they were waiting for the last 6 years because 2019 August was the abrogation of the Article 370, which is like a kick in the solar plexus of Pakistan.
Yeah.
Because it was always an article of faith.
Yeah.
Now, having done that, India was prepared. It was always on guard for the last 5-6 years. And in the game of terrorism, it's always, you may prevent 99 attacks out of 100, but the 100th attack may get you. And they have to just succeed once. And that's exactly what has happened right now. So you and me don't know, and at least I know because of my interactions with the people, that there would be every year at least 10-15 modules busted, ISI modules, attacks would be prevented, planning would be prevented, or planning would be unraveled by intelligence agencies, by security agencies. So that happens, but that intelligence agencies can never tom-tom their success, or the security forces can never tom-tom their success unless it is a kinetic action.
Sure.
And
because you're preventing
You're preventing it, and therefore you have to also keep it quiet.
Yeah.
So that others don't get the idea of how it was done, or they don't get to know.
Right.
So this is a battle which doesn't sort of lend itself to much public display.
Guys, if you're interested in more content like this where it actually makes you think and explore how you think inside your head, dude, subscribe, man.